In 1999, Toei aired the 23rd Super Sentai season, Kyukyu Sentai GoGoFive. The year after, it was adapted as Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, a series that had toys, video games, and a TV series. Power Rangers and Super Sentai seasons are usually very different from each other, and this one was the first Power Rangers season that wasn't connected to the previous ones, and it was part of an era called the post-Zordon era. After the Zordon era, the first era of the franchise ended with In Space. Because it's part of this different era, it's a lot more similar to its Sentai counterpart than some of the previous ones. In this video, I'm comparing Lightspeed Rescue and its Super Sentai counterpart. First things first, Lightspeed Rescue was the Power Rangers series that got me into the franchise, which I got into the franchise because I found the PlayStation video game and played through it, and GoGoFive is the first Super Sentai series that I completed. Let's start off by discussing the motive. First of all, GoGoFive is Rescue Squad themed, kind of like the Rescue Heroes trilogy of Metal Heroes made by Toei and Fisher-Price's Rescue Heroes toy line and show. Also, the 5 Rangers represent different rescue services. The leader is a firefighter, the Blue Ranger is part of the fire department's chemical extinguishing team, and the Green Ranger is an aerial rescue pilot. The Yellow Ranger is the youngest of the 5 and is a policeman, and the Pink Ranger is the only woman who's a paramedic. Also, like some other Super Sentai teams, such as 5 Men and Magi Ranger, which became Mystic Force in Disney's Power Rangers, the Sentai are all siblings, and there's themes about family, and the mentor is their father. Also, this season is the last Sentai season that never got a 6th Ranger. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue changed a few things about this. First of all, they adapted the Blue Ranger to be a lifeguard. The Green, Red, and Pink Rangers have the same motifs, but they took out the police motif and made the Yellow Ranger an extreme sports athlete. Also, they changed her character so she's a woman, and because of this, her outfit doesn't have a skirt while the Pink Ranger does. Also, like Power Rangers Mystic Force, the cast is not a family like their counterpart, although the Pink Ranger is the captain's daughter. The mentor of this season is Captain Mitchell. The Power Rangers version has a lot of new footage, weapons, and vehicles, and it was the first season to have an American-exclusive 6th Ranger, who is the captain's long-lost son. He becomes the Titanium Ranger and gets some arcs, some of which are taken from multiple different roles from the Sentai series. For instance, he gets the Shuttle Zord. Also, the series has an additional motif of Egyptian mythology, and there's a Lightspeed, high-speed motif, but it's barely used and makes no sense. Quality. Like a lot of old Super Sentai series, GoGoFive wasn't shot in widescreen, and the footage looks very old and is not at a very high definition. At most, the footage is at 480 pixels. The Lightspeed Rescue Power Rangers footage is shot at a much better resolution, and the series used a lot of footage from GoGoFive after upscaling it and making it brighter. However, the original footage is still shot way better, so while watching Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, it's really easy to tell what footage has been reused from GoGoFive and which one was original to Power Rangers. Lightspeed Rescue does have a few flaws, such as extremely generic sound effects, but the quality of this series is actually pretty good. Even the fight scene choreography is a lot better. While the GoGoFive suits weren't very impressive, the helmets are pretty good and have a motif where you can see through the visor in some rescues, and they have gas masks built into them, which makes sense. The Power Rangers version thankfully only made an editing mistake showing the Japanese actors through the helmets a handful of times. Also, Power Rangers made a much more flashy and original morphing sequence. However, I like the GoGoFive one a lot more. Overall, the quality of Lightspeed Rescue is way better than the quality of GoGoFive. However, this is pretty much the only thing that Lightspeed Rescue does better. Mecha. The GoGoFive mecha are pretty good, where they have vehicles that fit each ranger's motive, and they use them for utility uses. Plus, there's a train combining mecha and a shuttle-themed mecha that's controlled by an AI and converts from a train to a shuttle, similar to Astro Train in Transformers. And they have a walker mech that converts into a more powerful robot form. This is released later on in the series. A lot of GoGoFive mecha battles are really good. However, there's 50 episodes in the series, so the budget has to be distributed, and most of them have mecha battles at the end. Let's face it, Super Sentai / Power Rangers is a quantity over quality franchise. The Power Rangers kept a lot of the mecha battles, but there are a lot more episodes with no mecha battles than GoGoFive. Also, there's a handful of original Megazord shots, but the two-part finale features only original Megazord footage for construction uses and for the villains to wreck the Power Rangers' secret underwater base, which is called the Aqua Base, which is entirely new to that series, and a lot of the footage of it is original. GoGoFive also has a launch base area, but it's not as good. Characters. Characters are another major important aspect. GoGoFive has some great characters, and as I've said before, unlike their American counterparts, both the heroes and the villains are a family. However, there's not much individual character development for them, but there's a little bit. Lightspeed Rescue made a bunch of changes, and most of the characters aren't as good as their counterparts. The counterparts range from being a complete joke compared to their Japanese version to being pretty close. Matoi, the leader, is a courageous, selfless character who's a bit of a goofball. Go Blue, Nagari, is smart, thinks before acting, and has a rivalry with his older brother, and they're both firefighters and the oldest of the group. Go Green, Shu, is a pilot who's very reliable. He also questions his leaders. Go Yellow is Damon. He's the youngest son and is a hothead. He also has one decent arc about guilt after he injures a child, similar to one in Mega Ranger that was adapted to in space. Go Pink is the mentor's only daughter, and is a very protective and decent paramedic who's orderly and kind-hearted. Their father is the Professor Mondo. He's a selfless genius who designs all the team's gear. The acting of this season is also pretty good. Sadly, the Power Rangers cast fails by a long shot when compared to its counterpart. Carter, the Red Ranger, is the traditional Red Ranger, but he's arrogant. However, he's not that bad compared to his counterpart. Chad Lee is a Blue Ranger who's a lifeguard, which fits the rescue squad elements, and he has a decent role, but he doesn't have as much of a role as his counterpart. Kelsey is the Yellow Ranger. She's a decent character and is a heroic extreme sports girl. However, she's over-competitive. She's not as good as Damon, her counterpart. Lastly, there's Joel, the Green Ranger, and Dana Mitchell, the Pink Ranger. However, they're a complete joke compared to their counterparts. Dana is extremely poorly written and is nowhere near as good as her counterpart, who's a decent, reliable ranger. Lastly, there's Joel. Joel is written as a cowboy and aerial stuntman, which this doesn't really fit. He's the most arrogant of the team, and is cocky and more of a comic relief character. He's always hitting on Angela Fairweather, a scientist at the base. However, he has no character development, and he doesn't learn his lesson at all. This keeps lingering throughout the entire show. Also, Joel and Angela end up together in the end. Lastly, there's the captain, who's a likable, decent mentor, and he's very close to his Super Sentai counterpart. Unfortunately, this entire series suffered from really bad acting by the entire cast, especially Dana. The villains, on the other hand, each have decent arcs. For instance, at the start of the series, the villain is Dark King Jirofiza. He's a demonic villain hell-bent on destroying humanity, yet he respects his siblings. After his arc ends, a small child, Drop, who's the queen's youngest son, grows up and becomes the next general, and he becomes Dragon Dark King Salamandez, who becomes a spoiled and not very good general. Also, in the movie, there's a twist that the Witch Queen had one other son named Gil, whom she abandoned. There's two other characters called Kobolda and the Princess Dinas, who looks like a human and is a master of disguise. Lastly, they have a butler named Piri, who's fly-themed and is a sorcerer who creates monsters by throwing cards and also uses them to revive and enlarge monsters. And for some reason, the cards he uses look more like trading cards, similar to Yu-Gi-Oh!, than tarot cards. This season has Dinas trying to revive Jafiza while disloyalty emerges, and these characters are developed when they realized how evil their mother truly is. The main villain is Grand Witch Grandine. She's just the traditional tokusatsu villain, as she's a pure evil witch out to take over the universe and remake it in her own image. Lightspeed Rescue made a lot of changes to the villains too, but toned down the plot. First of all, Diabolico, the Dark King's counterpart, is very close. Olympus is pretty close to Salamandez, and so is Queen Banshira to Grandine. However, Dinas's counterpart, Vipra, is terrible and is notorious for being one of Power Rangers' worst villains. In the previous seasons, starting with Car Ranger, which was adapted into Turbo, Sentai counterparts had a sexualized female villain with a revealing outfit, but mostly looked human. In Turbo, In Space, and Lost Galaxy, the recent Power Rangers seasons, they completely remade the footage with these characters and changed them so they have an original story and are even sexier with less revealing outfits. Vipra, however, wore the exact same outfit and was portrayed by an actress who looks extremely similar to her, to the point where they could get away with using stand-in footage a couple of times. However, her acting, story arc, and makeup is dreadful.
I will, Diabolico. Once it's recharged, I'll lay waste to Mariner Bay. So our Queen Banshira will rise. Again.
She gets a lot of screen time and some original fight scenes. Also, Kobolda's counterpart is a typical Power Rangers villain that works with Vipra a lot and is named Loki. This name makes me wonder why the Power Rangers writers would use such a commonly known Viking name. In fact, they ended up using this name again in Operation Overdrive. Plot. The plots of these series are extremely similar. In GoGoFive, a professor named Mondo Tatsumi predicts the arrival of the Grand Cross, a planetary formation that will bring about terror and destruction on Earth. In the time before the alignment, it's the harbinger of monster attacks, such as a magma monster. Mondo, who's a single father with 5 children who are all rescue squad members, have to team up, and he builds gear for them, such as mecha, suits, and weapons, and they become a team of rescue squad-themed superheroes called the Kyukyu Sentai GoGoFive, which translates to Emergency Squadron GoGoFive. After this, it starts the traditional Super Sentai formula, where the Grand Cross's true nature manifests as a meteor that crashes into what looks like the North Pole. This creates a castle for a family of demons that are the children of a witch called Grandine. They're called the Sema family, which translates to Disaster Demon Family, which is commonly subbed as Castrofend. This family drives the traditional episodic stories, and their goal is to bring about terror so they can receive more negative energy, so at the moment of the alignment, they can perform a ritual to revive their mother on August 18th, 1999. There's one arc where the Dark King, who's the villain up to this point, is destroyed, and the Rangers get a new mecha. This goes on halfway through the season, and then Grandine comes back wounded because Mondo is injured while trying to foil the ritual. Grandine has more battles, and there's conflict between her children, who eventually learn that their mother is extremely selfish and is only using them. Also, Drop, an infant child of Grandine, grows up and becomes the second Dark Lord. The GoGoFive eventually destroy Grandine, but she lurks as a non-corporeal being, and the two generals, who are her children, grow large and are destroyed by the GoGoFive. Also, at the end, the Sentai Rangers are reunited with their mother. Lightspeed Rescue made a lot of changes. Lightspeed Rescue has the demons being released accidentally by travelers in the desert, which they were sealed there by a sorcerer of the sands. They come to a fictional city called Mariner Bay, where a captain, William Mitchell, forms a team of rescue service workers, athletes, and performers. Villains are not really related either, though their leader, Queen Banshira, has an infant child who's their prince. They find out that the city of Mariner Bay is built upon former grounds of the demons, which they used to rule the world 5,000 years ago, and they plan to destroy the city to build a castle there, although they have a secret castle in a skull cavern underground beneath the city. The new Ranger team fights several new attacks. They adapted it so the Rangers get the American exclusive Titanium Ranger introduced, who, while Diabolico was imprisoned, he somehow escaped in spirit form. And then there was a car crash with William Mitchell and his two children. He offered to save his son Ryan from falling, but would take him as his own in exchange. William accepted the offer, and Ryan was taken away from him and raised by Diabolico. Ryan grew up and became a villain for a few episodes, but defects and joins the Lightspeed rescue team after he finds out the truth about his father. The planets align, and the demons revive Queen Banshira, and Ryan foils the ritual, injuring the queen, and survives. However, he departs and explores Egyptian ruins, looking for the sorcerer of the sands magic to imprison the demons again. Olympius backstabs Vipra and Loki, and while away in the desert, they manage to revive Diabolico. And then, the villains start running out of monsters, and the queen transforms to get her powers back and sacrifices Vipra, one of her generals, to get her entire powers back. Later on, during a fight, she forces Diabolico to kill her other general, Loki, for an attack against the Rangers, and he goes rogue and gets used as a giant monster by Olympus, and they're both destroyed by the Rangers' new life force utilizing Megazord. Then the Queen takes over the Rangers' base and uses their Megazords to organize a ritual to revive all the deceased demons and captures Ryan. However, the Rangers break into her palace and throw her into the Shadow World permanently. However, she tries to take Carter, the Red Ranger, with her, but Diabolico saves him. The Rangers rejoice, and Captain Mitchell is now able to spend some quality time as a family with his two children. First of all, the Power Rangers version has terribly executed arcs that make no sense, and it minimizes the planetary alignment motif for a poorly written and generic ancient Egyptian themed storyline. The plot and story of the Super Sentai one has more decent stories about family. Also, the episodic stories are a lot better, and there's a lot of good episodes that were either cut out or had their stories toned down and poorly written. However, the Power Rangers version is a little less episodic than the Super Sentai one, but GoGoFive still has a better plot. Themes. GoGoFive has a lot of substance. First of all, it's about rescue squads saving lives, which is the heart and soul of the superhero genre. Plus, in the theme song and in the series, it teaches that saving a life is saving infinite possibilities. Also, the GoGoFive have a catchphrase that they say in most episodes. People's lives are Earth's future. It also has themes about family and stories about rivalry and courage. Power Rangers has really bad character arcs, and the characters aren't very good. It also tones down the themes, but it still has a few. However, a lot of them are taken from the episodic stories of GoGoFive, and they aren't as good and meaningful as some other themes in other Power Rangers seasons. Theme song. The theme songs of GoGoFive and Lightspeed Rescue are both pretty cool, but they're very different. Power Rangers and Super Sentai theme songs have always been very different and have totally different tones. Super Sentai songs are usually more uplifting and more about courage and have a little bit more dancing. However, Power Rangers theme songs are more like fight songs and novelities for the brand. The theme songs are a big part of both franchise. However, Sentai always has a song during the end credits too, and in the newer seasons, they usually end with a sing-along and dance with the actors. Also, GoGoFive's theme song is a little bit more well-known than some other Sentai songs from its era. It's a banger. However, Lightspeed Rescue's song is not the most well-known Power Rangers theme song of the post-Zordon era. However, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, it repeats the title Lightspeed Rescue too much, but the first verse is pretty good. However, the song doesn't have an extended version. GoGoFive, on the other hand, has meaningful lyrics, excellent background singers, multiple verses, extended cuts, and even an official English version that was aired at the start of a compilation episode. After analyzing the original lyrics and looking at multiple translations and hearing both songs several times, I came to a conclusion that the GoGoFive theme song is way better. This song was even used in GoKaiger when the pirate-themed Sentai transformed into the GoGoFive Rangers as a tribute episode. Recently, a few weeks ago, the band Zetki covered the song. Plus, GoGoFive even had multiple different songs throughout the show's run. So for the music, GoGoFive ultimately wins. Writing. Writing is another criteria for what makes a good series. The writing of GoGoFive is pretty average in terms of tokusatsu, but the script and character dynamics are well written. The story is just okay, but the connection between the villains and natural disasters is pretty good. The family dynamic is pretty well written for both the good guys and the villains. Also, some of the individual stories are pretty good and have decent writing. For instance, there's the Infinity Chain arc that I loved. One story has a body swap episode. Also, the villains, despite being demons hellbent on destroying humanity, care about each other and are well-written villains. Lightspeed Rescue is terrible in terms of writing. Bad execution, things that make no sense, and mindless action. The Lightspeed motif is a joke, because they don't really go at light speed, although the writers act like they are. This is probably done just so they can have an interesting title. The release of the villains is terrible compared to the decent arc about the planetary alignment. Ryan's arc is a complete farce from start to finish. He changes sides too easily, and the monsters use him for shooting at innocent people on the street while they're currently attacking another way. And how could he be raised for years by Diabolico if Diabolico was imprisoned? And what happened to him during this time? Did he grow up trapped in a box in a pyramid? Was he in some kind of alternate dimension? This makes absolutely no sense and is a terrible arc, and he just appears out of nowhere. Lastly, this arc is a blatant ripoff and reimagining of the Green with Evil arc from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Also, there's a plot hole where the demons in Lightspeed Rescue can't go underwater. However, there's one later that can, and there's one scene where Vipra manipulates a mermaid while in an underwater cove. So, this is inconsistent and is a plot hole. Let's just say, I think that children deserve better quality of writing than this. After watching both series and all crossovers and movies relating to them, I have come to a conclusion that the GoGoFive series is without a doubt way better than Lightspeed Rescue in all aspects except for the quality of footage. It's one of the most underrated Super Sentai seasons against a below-average Power Rangers season. However, Lightspeed Rescue still has some entertaining footage, and not everything about Lightspeed Rescue is garbage. There are a few things that I liked about this season. Out of all 40 episodes of Lightspeed Rescue, 37 of them are based on episodes of GoGoFive, and out of these 37, there's only 2 that I liked more than the Japanese version with subtitles. One of these is In the Freeze Zone, one that featured a lot more original footage with better quality than the awful Sentai episode it was based on, called Cut Through the Sema Zone, which has a bad story and awful special effects. The In the Freeze episode changed both the plot and story and completely altered the episode with a lot of new footage. It features a plotline about Diabolico's return and an arc about the recovery of a secretary that gets partially frozen by a monster. Plus, the original episode has a really bad special effect where the Red Ranger gets frozen. The Power Rangers version recreated this. The other episode I liked more was one that's a counterpart of the episode The Man Matoi Couldn't Beat. It featured an underwater demon, and the story of this episode is about Go Red and another fighter. This rivalry story had already been used a few times in GoGoFive. The Power Rangers counterpart focused on the Blue Ranger's relationship with a mermaid that comes back from an original episode called Ocean Blue. This episode is called Neptune's Daughter. GoGoFive had a crossover V-Cinema film where they crossed over with the Ginga Man, and the Power Rangers show had a 2-part crossover episode using footage from it called Trakina's Revenge. However, honestly, I didn't really like either one, so I didn't count this, even though they are very close. Lastly, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue had 3 video games on the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, and PlayStation. The Nintendo 64 game is notoriously bad, too simple and boring. However, the PlayStation game is a lot better, although it feels cheap in some elements, and it's extremely easy to find in thrift stores all over the country. The Game Boy Color game is a 2D platform adventure game, however, it feels like an online web game. But it's the closest thing we ever got to a Super Sentai / Power Rangers Metroidvania. However, the PlayStation and Game Boy Color games capture what it would be like to be part of a team of Rescue Squad themed superheroes, and are honestly way better than the show. Both of these seasons use the rescue motif pretty well and are somewhat decent. Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue may not have been a good TV show, but the franchise is anything but soulless. The GoGoFive series is still really good, and even though it's been around for the last 25 years and looks pretty old, it's still very good.